We need to continue to go and show up each and every day and have that devotion and have that commitment, because it takes time and it takes effort and it takes direction and intention. Music really informed me. Do you guys have any, I'm gonna ask you real quick, do you have any love songs that were like informed what you thought love should have been? You can just shout one out if you have one, and I'll share you what mine was. I wanna know what love is. You got that one? All right, what other ones do we have? I might not know them all, but. Careless Whisper? I saw some Gen Xers here. I thought maybe that might be one, no? In Your Eyes. In Your Eyes? I don't know if I know what that one is. I can't sing it for you, but we'll have you sing it later. Maybe some Nat King Cole. L is for the way you look. No? Any other love songs that you kind of formed your understanding of what you thought love was, even if it was like a total eclipse of the heart or anything like that? No? Yeah, I actually can't sing Truly very well, but I'll let you do that for us afterwards, Kevin. But yeah, we have these songs, we have these things, and so I was reminded of a time where one of my oldest cousins got married. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of the story, then we'll jump into it. So he was getting married, I think he was about 20, 21 years old, to his 8-month pregnant girlfriend in our cabin in the middle of the woods in Nomare, Pennsylvania. I believe she was pregnant, barefoot too, so yes, barefoot and pregnant. That's just the way we do it in Pennsylvania. It's Pennsyltucky. Everywhere between, yeah, anyways, so I remember it very clearly. They were slow dancing after they got married by the creek. Dead serious. It was in front of the outhouse. That's just exactly what was going on. This is just Pennsylvania Parkers for you. Just stay with me. And I can remember it clearly. They're dancing after the ceremony. I think my dad and my uncle did the wedding, and my older cousin, who's sitting next to me on the front porch of our cabin, is in charge of, I think it was a cassette player. Maybe it was a CD. If you don't know what that is, again, talk to the oldest person next to you. And he plays the song, and it's the song Truly, Madly, Deeply by Savage Garden. I want to stand with you on a mountain. And I'm like, I never heard any of those lyrics before. And my cousin leans over and goes, Tim, I want this song played at my wedding. And I was like, what? He's like, this is the epitome. He didn't say that word. This is the exact idea of what I think love and intimacy ought to look like. You can go home and listen to the song. It's a little bit more for married couples than it is for people who are just dating, just FYI. It's a little bit more rated there. But I began to think about that and how that formed what I thought love is and should be. And I remember the name of the song is called Truly, Madly, Deeply. And that's where the series gets its title from today, kind of unshamelessly, is that love for God, true intimacy should be true. It should be real. It should be authentic. It should make you a little bit mad, not like angry mad, but when people look at your love, they should go, that person's a little bit crazy for them. That person's a little bit willing to do things maybe for them that they wouldn't do for someone else. And it shouldn't just be shallow love. It should be a deep, rich, thick kind of love. And so as we talk about intimacy, we're not just talking about between a husband and a wife. I want to talk about what intimacy looks like, falling deeper in love with God. And that's what I want to unpack for you today, because I think sometimes we think intimacy is only, I want to say like charged between a man and a woman, and has to have sex involved. But no, intimacy doesn't necessarily even need that part. I spelled it for those young ears. It doesn't necessarily need that part. There's also this emotional vulnerability and this spiritual connectedness and this physical closeness that intimacy has that sometimes we just shortchange in those songs and in those movies like the Titanic. And we think it's all the what I call red hot sticky love. But really there's more to intimacy than just that piece. And so we're gonna try to unpack this over the next couple weeks as we look at Truly, Madly, Deeply. We're actually going to give you a couple different practices you can do to try to help you fall more in love with God. So this week I'm gonna give you one at the end of the message. Next week you'll get one. The hope is over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, you'll learn different practices, you'll try them out. And then at the very, very end of the series, we're gonna have a microphone sitting right here and say, hey, what practice did you try? How well did it go? If no one comes up, you get out of church early. If everyone comes up, you stay. But we wanna hopefully make this a series where you can actually practice this. So for just a moment, you're thinking about all this stuff, truly, madly, deeply, falling more in love with God. I want you to think about what would it look like if you actually had a close, intimate relationship with God. You can imagine that with me. Would it look like something like writing love songs to him? Maybe writing and pouring your heart out in a poetry? Would it look like acts of service, words of affirmation? Would it look like being willing to sacrifice a piece of you or a part of you or your finances? What would a radical love look like? Because there's a guy we're going to look at this entire next month or two who did each and every one of those things. Some of you would say, that's kind of crazy. Why would you write love songs to God? Why would you give God words of affirmation? But that man was David. And we're going to be looking at the life of David, not only in Samuel, but what's talked about him throughout the rest of the Bible, and even look at some of his Psalms, and we can see that he was truly a man after God's own heart. In fact, that's what it says here in Acts 13:22. As Paul is describing him, he says, God testified concerning him, that's David. He says this about David: I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. You guys catch how God describes David? I have found David. David didn't find me, I found him, son of Jesse, we'll get there. And he is, quote unquote, a man after my own heart. That's the words of God. And he will do everything I want him to do. Does that sound a little bit like intimacy? A little bit? And this didn't happen overnight. That's what we're going to unpack today. This kind of deep intimacy wasn't just, I went to a really good sermon or saw 4 people get baptized, and all of a sudden, wow, I have deep intimacy. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen from a really good men's retreat or a really, really good worship song. This deep level of intimacy has to be developed. It has to have commitment. There has to be devotion. And so that's our first point this morning is that falling in love with Jesus takes cultivation. Falling in love with Jesus takes cultivation. Now, I've already kind of identified myself as a Pennsylvania redneck, but I'm not much of a farmer or a gardener, just FYI. But I do know that if you want to plant something, it takes a little bit of effort. You don't just drop a seed in the ground and go, I hope it grows. You have to pick the rocks out of the soil. You have to till the land. You got to put some fertilizer on it. I heard horse manure is the best. I don't know why. That's just what I've heard. Not only do you do that, but then you have to water the seed. You have to pull the weeds up as they come alongside it. You have to maybe put a trellis or a tomato cage on it, because if you don't put a tomato cage on, why even plant tomatoes to begin with? Sometimes you have to keep the pests away, maybe a lot of deer, rabbit. Whenever I tried gardening, I failed multiple times. I had those darn eggplant beetles. You guys have the eggplant beetles? You don't have them down here? I don't know. They just seem, anytime you plant an eggplant, the beetles just come out of the woodwork. Never seen them before. So you have to get the pest protection going on, and then you have to sometimes pull and cut and prune the plant so that it can grow in the direction it needs to grow. And if you're not careful, and you don't check it every day, sometimes the fruit will rot on the vine. That's the kind of cultivation I'm talking about, is that kind of everydayness, that kind of perpetual care, that kind of doing the monotonous things. Every day is the kind of cultivation we need to have to develop a deep intimacy with God. We need to continue to go and show up each and every day and have that devotion and have that commitment, because it takes time and it takes effort and it takes direction and intention. And so if you think about what Jesus says about this, he says, I am the vine, and he says, and you are the... So if we're trying to be connected to God, we need to cultivate that branch and vine connection. And so if you want to turn with me real quick, we're going to get really fast into our series, into our scripture, 1 Samuel 17. You can get there right now. I believe it's page 228. We're also going to be at 1 Samuel 16 as well. We're going to hop around a little bit, but go ahead and turn there while I grab a drink of water. All right, so here in 1 Samuel 17, we're going to start to unpack this cultivated, intimate relationship that David has with God. If you're going to get thrust into the middle of a story, David is visiting his brothers. They're at war. They're fighting against the Philistines, and you guys probably know of the story of David fighting Goliath. We're not going to spend too much time here today. This is the intro sermon, so we're hopping, skipping, and jumping around. But we have David getting ready to fight Goliath because no one else, not his 7 older brothers, not the entire Israel army, wants to fight this giant 9-foot-ish guy. His weapons probably weigh more and are bigger than David, and this is something called single combat warfare, where whoever sends out the best combatant and wins, they represent their whole country or the whole army. So if you win for your whole country, but if you lose for your whole country. So no one's willing to go out and fight against this giant. They're like, yeah, not today, Satan. And so 1 Samuel 17, David goes up to Saul and's like, I'm going to do it. And this is what he says. 1 Samuel 17:34. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep when a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock. I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by his hair, struck and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine. You guys catch that kind of like radical, deep love? He's like, I know. I feel like if they would see her, he would say something like, I know this God. This isn't a God that had a bunch of fairy tales and stories and scriptures. Like, I don't just know this God, but I've lived these testimonies. I think if David was here, he'd say, like, my God isn't a fake God. He's a real God. I think he would say, I write love letters to him. I know he knows me in my rising and my sitting down. I have a personal relationship with him. And so David's willing to defend his God's country and his relationship with God because he is just willing to have that kind of deep, passionate care for someone that he knows. But if you don't know someone, why would you care for them and why would you defend them? And you wouldn't have any history of having a deep relationship with them. So this is the story of David and Goliath. We're going to hop back, all right, to 1 Samuel 16, verses 7. I said we're going to be all over the place today with 1 Samuel. You don't have to follow along, but just so you know, David and Goliath over here. We're going back a chapter or so. Right here, 1 Samuel 16, 7. As we get here, we have Samuel who is looking to figure out who the next king's going to be. We've already figured out that Saul's not going to continue on as king. And so Samuel is at the house of Jesse looking to figure out who am I going to anoint to be king? And he's trying to figure it out. And as he gets there and he's praying, God, is it this son? Is it this son? We go through 7 different sons of Jesse, all oldest to youngest, and each and every single one of them, God's like, this isn't the one, this isn't the one, this isn't the one. And in 1 Samuel 16, God says this to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. Talking about one of David's brothers. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. You catch that? And so here we have God saying, I know David. I don't judge him by his head, by how tall he is. Don't judge him by how good looking he is. I'm looking at his heart. I know him. And so basically, now Samuel has to go and send out for the last brother, which ends up being David, who's a shepherd, scrawny little boy in the middle of the fields. And God says, yes, that one. I know him. He knows me. I know his name. He knows my name. He will be the next king because he's after my own heart. He will be the next king because he knows my will because he's so closely aligned with me. So I'm trying to lay out a picture here. David's like, I know God. I'll fight for him. And God's like, I know David. He's going to be the king. And then somewhere here in between, 1 Samuel 16, 18, Saul, who's already not going to be king, but is still king over here. Just so you're following along. It's a little confusing. We'll unpack it the rest of the series. 1 Samuel 16, 18. Right before this, Saul is troubled by evil spirits. The Spirit of God has left him, and now he's being troubled. He can't sleep. He's angry. There's some serious mental health problems going on, some spiritual oppression. Not going into that today. But he's looking for someone that can help soothe his issues, his problems. And so he sends his servant out looking for someone that could quite possibly help him. And one of his servants, 1 Samuel 16, 18, comes back and says this, I have seen the son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the lyre. He is a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is fine looking, and the Lord is with him.